everyone. Today I have the honor and privilege of speaking to author Owen Mullen. And Owen's book that I have right in front of me is called Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. Thank you so much. And he's calling me from Greece, so thank you so much for making this happen, Owen.
You're welcome. You're very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first book I've read of yours, and it was so good. And I couldn't put it down, of course. It's your typical crime novel that I just couldn't put down until I was going to read half of it one night, and I read almost the entire book in a night.
I'm pleased to hear that. Pleased to hear that, Michelle.
Yes, but I saw on Facebook that you just recently got an award, and I wanted to know, like, what that was about.
Okay, well, that's not quite true, and it's almost true. In Scotland, in September, they have a big crime festival, a big crime event called Bloody Scotland's, and you get everyone there. You know, Ian Rankin, Val McDermid. You probably know these people. They're million sellers. They're real big hitters in the world of books. And every year at Bloody Scotland, they choose, they have a panel of judges and people who read, etc., etc. They choose the Scottish crime book of the year. To enter, you have to be either living in Scotland, having been born in Scotland, or the book needs to be set in Scotland. I don't live in Scotland most of the time, but I live there sometimes. The book is set in Scotland, and so I qualify. And my publisher sent them the first book. The one you've read, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, is the third book in the Charlie Cameron series. There's a reason for this, which I'll explain to you in a moment. They sent Bloody Scotland before the Games People Play, which is the first one in the Charlie Cameron series. And a couple of months ago, I just come in from somewhere and I got a DM on Facebook from a guy I didn't know saying, "Hi, when you get this message, please give me a call." So I did. It was a Scottish number, a Glasgow number, someone I've never heard of. And I said, "Hi, I want to have good news for you. Your book has been long listed for the Crime Book of the Year." Now, there are about 70 books from 70 publishers sent in, nominated from the publisher. These are judged, and at this time the long list has been down to 12. At the beginning of September, because the event is on the 8th of September, at the beginning of September, they cut the long list to the final 4. So I'm on the long list, right next to Ian Rankin, Val McDermid, Anne Cleves. I don't know, have you ever seen the Shetland series on television? It may not go to the US. It's big news in the UK. In fact, she's doing one of the events, and she's got the actor in the event who plays the television character to talk to her. And of course, there's something like 800 people, and it's sold out already because she's... Anyway, little old me is in there along with all these big hitters. So, no, I haven't won it yet, and I say yet. It's a big honour it's a big surprise to get this far. I'm pleased about that. If I get further, well, that'll be great. And if I win it, well, that would be something else. You know, last year it was won by Christopher Brookmeyer. Do you know Christopher Brookmeyer?
No, but I did hear of those other authors that you are with, and I'm like, that is pretty amazing. I mean, even getting that far is pretty amazing.
Well, it is really pretty amazing, and I'm trying to be cool about it. But unfortunately, all my life I've wanted to be cool, but, you know, I've never really had the stuff. I'm not really cool. I kind of do what everybody does. I kind of pretend to be cool, but I'm not really cool. I couldn't sleep the first night. But of course, we've got to fly back. We fly back at the end of this month now, and it's quite exciting because there's a bit more to it than that for me. The event starts on the Friday night is when the event begins, and they announce who's won this big prestigious prize. On the Thursday night, the night before, I'm doing a book signing and a Q&A in Waterstones. It's the biggest bookshop in Scotland in Sauchiehall Street in Glasgow. It's a Thursday night. On the Friday night, I'm at this big do. They may have kicked me into the bleachers by then, but at the moment I'm still in the running. But you never know. And on the next day, I'm doing a reading from Games People Play, to in one of the big halls, opening up for Peter May. You've probably heard of Peter May. He's really pretty. His current book is number 3 in the UK bestseller charts yesterday. So I'm kind of the opening act. You know, it's a bit like the Dixie Chicks opening for the Eagles, if you can imagine something like that. You know.
Well, first of all, I love your accent. I feel like I'm talking to Sean Connery or somebody like. You know, you're the first.
Oh, I know that.
I
can do Sean Connery for you.
You can?
Of course, Michelle. That's very, very good of you.
Wow,
Sorry, Sean.
That is awesome.
Well, why do Americans like the Scottish accent? What is it they like about that?
I don't know. I have no idea because I do talk to a lot of people from England, and I do love their accent a lot. But the Scottish accent is different. It's like I don't know. It's so cool, especially men doing it. Like, you know, like I said, it's very cool to talk to a Scottish man. Like, I don't know. It sounds look at what happened for Sean Connery. You know, he got to be all the ladies loved his accent. So. Well,
that's it. Of course, he was a Mr. Atlas or something when he was 22. You know, so he started off as a kind of bodybuilder guy. So he's tall. He was always going to be a bit of a hit with women. And then he get into acting. The thing about Sean is, you know, as a Scot, I recognise his accent. Big Sean is the same whether he's a Russian submarine commander or whether he's a cowboy in Shalko. He's still the same, you know. He's heading for the border, you know. He always does. He really is just Sean Connery wherever you get him, you know. And I think the accent. I think the accent tends to be a bit of a disadvantage, but maybe not. Now, my next book is coming out, as I was telling you before we started the tape.
Yeah.
It's set in America, and it's coming out on the 5th of October, and it's called, set in New Orleans, and it's called And So It Began. And the converse is true for me. I really like America. I'm really quite an America fan. There's I love New York. I love the place I've been. Love New Orleans. Have you been to New Orleans?
I've been there a couple of times. I love New Orleans. I love the food.
Yeah.
I always come back 10 pounds heavier because I eat lots of food when I'm down there.
Yeah. So that's where the next one's set. Of course, it was a challenge for me because the book that you've read, you know, I already know quite a lot of the background. But to set something in America, to set something in New Orleans, or New Orleans, as they say down there, is a bigger challenge in terms of the research and getting it right. It's important to keep it authentic. But I enjoy writing it, and of course that comes out. So what I'm thinking about the accent is, if I have a big success in America and I have to go and promote it there, well, I'm going to get down the storm, aren't I? All these American women throwing themselves at me. That'll be great.
That's right. You'll be very popular at book signings, so no worries.
Well, I'm willing. I'm up for it. You know, I'm there.
Yeah, I'm not that far from New York either. As a matter of fact, I'm going there on Friday. I'll be in New York. I go to New York City a lot. I'm about 2 hours south of there, so I spend a lot of time there. But I wanted to know, okay, so when did you start writing books? Because you've written a lot of books in a very short period of time. And I couldn't even I went on, you know, the internet to see if I could find kind of a bibliography of your books in order to see, like, where you started. But, I mean, and then I was like, well, I'm just going to ask him.
Okay, well, just ask me. I'll tell you. The story behind that is that when I was 10 years old, and this is on my Amazon biog, but and it's true, when I was 10 years old, I won a primary school short story writing competition. I was 10 years old, and it was for schools in Scotland, and I won it. And I didn't write anything else for 40 years. It never occurred to me to write anything else. When I came down to live in Greece, now during that time, I was in marketing, and I've got a degree in marketing, and I had a marketing business. And of course, I wrote stuff for people, press releases. I wrote strap lines. I even did some restaurant reviews. But I never wrote anything more substantial than that. until I came to live in Crete, and I woke up one day and I said, I've got an idea for a short story. I think I'll try it. I wrote it. It really, really, really was awful, but it was so bad. I still have it somewhere. But I realized there was something there, so I started, and it's taken me 10 years. 10 years of being ignored by the world before anyone realized I was there. But I kept writing. So when I eventually got the break with Bloodhound Books, I'd self-published a couple of books. When I got the break with Bloodhound Books, actually my wife wrote to them on my behalf because I was so fed up with it by this time. And I'd written about 3 or 4 chapters of the book you've read, Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. And I said, look, do you want to take a look at this and tell me if you would be interested in it? And they wrote back and said, absolutely, we would be interested in it, and we'd be interested in books 1 and 2 as well. So that's how it seems to be. So all of a sudden, I was in the game. But now that started with them, in terms of publishing, in January the 19th, I think. So from January the 19th, from being published as a debut novelist, now the fact that I've been writing away, it helps because you're honing your skill, you're working on your talent, you're trying to learn how to write. It takes time. So by the time the first book's published, after that it's been a little bit of a roller coaster because, 6 or 7 months later, you're nominated for Scottish Crime Book of the Year with, rank and all. It's quite a trip actually, Yeah. So it's not as enjoyable as you might think because it kind of freaks you out a bit,
Wow. I did see, I went on the publisher's website and I saw you were there. And then I was like, but wait a second, his books are like boom, boom, boom. Like they just came out like so quickly. I was like, wow, that is amazing. How did he write like that? How did he write so many of these?
Well, because I had already written 2 of them. Mm-hmm. I've written more books than that, but I haven't seen the light of day yet. Today, for example, we're working on the book after Before the Devil Knows You're Dead. I won't tell you the title, it's a big secret. But that'll be out next year. That'll be out next year, and it's a Charlie Cameron book. I've also got, I've written another couple, but I've got another couple in mind. The trouble is, Michelle, the pace can actually grind you down at times. Up every morning, right. Someone like Stephen King, that's his whole life. Well, I don't want to spend all day, every day, just doing one thing. But it's not good for you. There's no balance there. For me, there's no balance there. And we live in a wonderful place. It's beautiful. It's beautiful this evening, by the way. The sun's going down. It's all fab. So I want to have some balance in my life. But at the same time, I do have these ideas. So you're drawing in all the time to write them, If you have any questions about how I write them, I can answer them for you.
Yes, absolutely, because I had read an interview. We know somebody in common, which is kind of how I found you. You had done an interview with Lucy Hay.
Lucy Hay, yeah.
Yeah, and I did an interview with her. Like, I interviewed Lucy, and then I always look at her stuff, and then I saw that she interviewed you because she interviewed, she does that too. She's also a writer, but she also, Lucy does everything. She's got all kinds of things going on all the time.
That's right, so she does.
Yeah, but she's amazing. I love her. And so, I wanted to know, so you did that interview with her, and you said, you have a pretty strict schedule, but it's like, how, when you sit down, do you first, totally plot it out with outlines, or do you just write from the top of your head? A lot of authors just sit down and they just write,
Okay, a lot of authors do just sit down and write with that kind of skill. Today, for example, all day we started something about 10 o'clock, and we're going to have dinner now, and then we're going to go on and finish. And what we've been doing is plotting the last quarter of this book, because if you say to me, Owen, I want you to write this bank robbery scene, for example, or the hostage scene or something, and give me a few pieces of information about it, I can just go and write that for you, no problem, because I know where it's going. If I don't know where it's going, if I just sit down in front of the computer, honestly, it's just a waste of time for me. I'm not happy with it. I always know the end of the book. I always know the beginning.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah.
Always know the end. So that means what you're doing is traveling a journey, to use that expression, making a journey between the beginning and the end point that's already known to you. Some authors will say, oh no, I just let the characters take me where they have a life of their own. I can't write like that. I mean, it's common. Ken Follett, for example, spends many, many, many hours plotting the whole thing out before he starts to properly write the thing. It gives a structure to the writing. I notice in some authors' work, who name no names, who follow a kind of stream of consciousness technique with the approach that the books always end up like big doorstops. Do you know what I mean? They're always, 700 pages and things like that. And I always think that some of that needs to be edited because when you're working freely, obviously you're going wherever the writing takes you. So I like to keep it much tighter than that from the beginning point of the story. Keep it tight all the time. Tell the story as it is. Stay with the story. Describe what you need to describe, but keep the whole crisp and lean if I can.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I love about your books. Okay, the book I read, it is tight. The story is tight.
Yeah.
And it's I like crime novels to be less than around 300 pages, I should say.
Yeah.
You like to keep them because after that, I don't know. If you can't tell the story, if it takes you 400 pages, it better be good to be able to tell the story. Right?
Well, another thing I was going to say about all my books. I hope you read a couple more, but
I will.
I always start off with what we call in our house the grabber. You know that if you imagine, and an agent of mine described this to me. If you watch a James Bond movie, everybody's seen James. The first scene is always James Bond being James Bond, capturing he's on top of a train or he's capturing the bad guys or whatever he's doing. And then it's a kind of vignette. It's a small story, lasts a couple of minutes, and it ends up with Bond. You don't really need to know too much more about James Bond. You kind of get he's a tough guy. You get he's a secret agent. You get he's a formidable geezer. And then we can begin the book. So I like to begin the book with the grabber that tells something exciting, something gripping, that tells the reader, listen, you won't be at page 176 and wondering whether you should carry on with this. There's going to be stuff in this that's going to thrill you and keep you hooked. That's the idea,
Yeah, and I absolutely, because I'm going back to what I remember your first chapter, and that's exactly what you did do. You gave us boom, right. And I don't I don't give away anything because I want people to experience what I did. But it opens up with like a boom, and you're like, whoa, how did that happen?
That's right. That's right, and also another aspect of the writing. I like to have multi-plots. I like the plot, for example, Games People Play, which you haven't read, which is up for the awards. I got the idea from the old Joe South song. You remember Games People Play? Oh, the games people play.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought of. When you said
when I wrote the book originally, I used to use quotes from that song, and as you revise it and you rewrite it, things get dropped out. But I wanted it to be, you've got kind of big crimes, and you've got small, everyday things that people do that aren't quite, completely honest. A wife tells her husband a lie or something, or a husband tells a wife something that isn't quite true, or something. So that the games people play can be from dastardly deeds to common or garden things. So as you follow these through, you're getting you're getting different levels of storytelling, if you like, different things to interest you. I like to keep it. I like this one we're doing just now is exactly that, and the reason it's so complicated is because it's also so difficult to get right is because it can be a complex story, but it can't be a complex read. It can't be complex for the reader. They've got to be understand. You know, when you get to a book and you say, "Who's this? What's that? What's happened?" That means you've lost it. So you've got to keep it simple, even though it's maybe a complex tale. All takes a bit of doing, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And in a weird way, like I read a lot of genres, but what I always think about crime when I'm reading a crime thriller like this, is that you do have like you have less characters. You know what those characters. I don't know. There's something about when you write it. It's like you know what these are. You know what's going on. And with this book, that is what I found the most amazing is that you had more characters than most crime thrillers, but I knew who every one of them was. I wasn't confused about who they were or what they were doing. It was very. I don't know. I thought you plotted it out really well.
Thanks very much for that. That's a good point, Michelle. Actually, we were concerned that because of the nature of the stories that perhaps there were too many characters. So in actual fact, we rewrote the thing and dropped some of it out so that the characters, then you've got to ask yourself, do we really need, here's another character coming in, do we really need this guy? And if you don't need him, he can't be there. Everything you do has really got to be advancing the story. And another thing too, sometimes when you read thrillers or crime novels, it's all car chases and shootouts, or they tell you, what the caliber of the bullet was and how fast it travels and all those kind of details. And I'm sure there must be many people who are really interested in that kind of stuff. But I'm not. I'm interested in who the people are and what they think and why they do the things they do. So again, trying to build those characters, so it's kind of character-led in a way, but building characters that are believable and you can actually dig. That takes a little bit of page time as well, which might detract from telling the story. So you've got to be concise. You've got to think about what we really need to know about this person as opposed to everything we need to know about them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's what I loved about this. First of all, I love the titles of your books. Okay.
All right.
Play is awesome. Before the Devil Knows You're Dead, I was like, what? You have great titles to your books. It's catchy. It's something that I want to read as soon as I pick it up, because I think titles and covers are important. I really do for a reader.
How many books do you read a week? Are you a big reader?
No, ask me how many books I read a day, not a week, because I do these all the time. Yes.
Mike.
Like I told you, I started this book.
You've got 6 kids, haven't you?
I have 6 kids. I have 7 grandchildren.
My goodness.
But I start a book usually before I go to bed. Okay, but I couldn't go to bed. I kept reading and reading.
Oh, really?
Yes, I absolutely. But I do audio in order to get in as many books as I can. I do audio so that when I'm in the car, I'm listening to a book. When I'm home, I'm reading a book. I have them on my phone, so when I'm in the grocery store, I'm still reading a book. Like I have them everywhere so that I can read at least 2 to 3 books a day. So that's what I have.
For God's sake, I've never heard anyone who reads as much as that. My mother used to read 3 books a week, and I was amazed at that.
But I have so many authors that are like you. When I started this, I thought, well, maybe authors want to talk. What I found out is authors love to talk. Okay. So it wasn't a maybe. They absolutely, authors like talking about their books. So I'm only one person and I keep getting, more and more people. And I try to keep up with it so that I can take a day off too on the weekends. And, I have been scheduling a little bit more. Like you said, it's balance and I don't want to just read all the time, but I do read a lot of books. Yes. So.
Yeah. Well, Games People Play is actually available on Audible. A guy in South Africa he read it, and he wrote to me saying he really enjoyed it.
Awesome.
He's in the car all day in South Africa, and he said he just didn't want to get out of the car. He really enjoyed the book, so it was very nice to hear that,
Absolutely. I highly suggest to authors to do audiobooks because that is becoming one of the most popular way for people to get their books in, you know?
Yeah. The second book in the series has got a title I like, Old Friends and New Enemies.
Yes.
So before it was published, that was called Missing. But I thought Missing was a good title, but then I thought, Old Friends and New Enemies is better.
Yes, I love that.
Everything counts, you know, the cover counts, the title counts, the word on the back counts, because, it's a big commitment to read a book for the reader. It's a big commitment in time and money, and so you've got to make sure that you're giving them as much for their money as you possibly can, as much entertainment as you possibly can, you know?
Yes, and that's why I love promoting you guys, because, you know, everybody would always say that reading books is going away. You know, people aren't doing that anymore, and I'm here to tell you that is not true. There are readers out there,
pleased to hear that,
and you know,
pleased to hear that, and also, and thank you, pleased to hear that, and thank you very much for doing what you do, because and my joke about myself is in a few short months, I've gone from completely unknown to almost completely unknown.
You know what, Owen? This is the fact that you've done what you've done in a year's time is crazy good, and I hope what it shows you is that you need to keep writing books. Okay.
Well, with support from people like you, Michelle, and I don't mean that as a kind of soppy, patronizing thing, but really, someone like you comes on and you're just so enthusiastic about the whole thing, and you're so supportive, so complimentary. Well, of course, how could you not? You know, because it isn't for the money. I can tell you that.
Right. Well, you know what? Most people say that. Most authors do. They're like, you know, but I do the same thing. This isn't for money either, and I love doing every minute of what I do. When you love what you do, it truly it pays back all the time.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely,
you know.
Absolutely. I've enjoyed talking to you.
I know you made this call happen, Owen. I'm so happy that you did. I'm so happy that I've been exposed to your books. I will promote them all, and I will have all your links underneath this video for everybody who, you know, want to be able to find you. You are on Facebook. You're active on Facebook, and your books are listed on Amazon.
Stay in touch, Michelle.
Yes,
stay in
please,
touch.
because if you come here, I'm going to come.
DM me, whatever. Just stay in touch. Tell me how you're doing, how things are going. Okay. And thank you for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Have a great night, Owen. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yes,
Bye-bye. Bye-bye, Michelle.
Bye-bye.